Thank you both so much for speaking to me. This is phenomenal. What you guys created was something I didn't know that I wanted. And so, what I want to know is kind of how do you get permission? Not how did you get, but more of did you present to them already the ideas and the scripts, or was it waiting before to get, the okay of which project, which video game properties you could use? And then it came the scripts.
So you take it away, but first of all, I want to say thank you. I'm glad you love it. Like,
Yeah, yes, ditto. It was definitely the concept for the show because when you start asking people to be in something like this, that there's not really anything like it, and all we could really point to was our other show, Love, Death, and Robots, and say, it's going to be like that, but with video games. And people generally got it, but we had no idea who would say yes and who wouldn't. And then there's a lot of factors from us sort of wanting to balance the show between indies and classic games and new games and future games to balancing genres like horror, sci-fi, fantasy, to balancing types of games. So we had a sort of a plan of what the kind of games we wanted to get in there, and then we start talking about what fills those categories, and then we see what's available. Because a lot of times, they have an option for a film, or they're developing a TV thing or something. So it's a lot of energy and work to write a great stories. So we didn't want to start with that until we knew they were in.
So, kind of going off with the different tones, I love how you flip the idea of what we think the video game is. For example, Pac-Man, you turned a child-friendly game, everyone I think was like almost the first video game they played, into a haunting, a horror story. And so,
well, maybe Pac-Man always was that. Maybe it always was a haunting horror.
It's DNA.
That is true. Can you both kind of talk about looking at the game from a different perspective, from something we wouldn't have noticed or thought of before, to create that originality?
You want to take it, Tim?
No, I answered the first one. It's your turn. You go.
We don't. So we definitely, as gamers ourselves, have our own ideas of what would be cool to do. But everything starts with a discussion with the developer. Like, so as much as I want to take full credit for the craziness that is Pac-Man, we got on a call with Bandai, and they said to us, we would like audiences to wonder what the fuck we did to Pac-Man. That is literally what they said to us. And so,
but in Japanese.
Yes, in Japanese translated. So either they said that, or the translator was, I'm going to play a wild prank on everybody and see where this goes. But they set out to do that, and obviously there's some interconnectedness with all like the Pac-Man worlds, but it was definitely a conversation with the developer. So I think the biggest thing we do across the whole series is we distill like the DNA of the game down, and then try and tell an entertaining story in it that anybody can get behind. Like, it's not a prerequisite for you to understand 40 years of Warhammer lore for you to be able to enjoy the episode.
Right. And that's kind of also what I love is you don't have to know these games in order to understand the story that you guys presented. One of the things that really stood out is also the look. Each story has its own different look and feel. Can you talk about kind of creating that world and making sure that everything was different so we don't get that repetitiveness?
Dave, you want to take that one?
Sure.
Dave
yes,
deserves the credit for that one, so I'll let him take it.
As much as we, I think as much as we can, we try and infuse different tones, both sort of visually and thematically in the episodes themselves. For some episodes like Pac-Man or Spelunky, where like we can take some liberties, we do with some episodes where or some video games where they're still trying to find their feet, like Exodus, which hasn't even come out yet. We're very close to the style of the game or the cinematics for the game. So where we can, we definitely take some liberties. But like Sifu, for example, like I love the art style of that game so much. It was just like, well, let's just take the sort of beautiful art style that I've already established and just plus it. But it was, I think, if we can, I would love, and if we're lucky enough to do future seasons, like I would love to like even get a wider range of styles, like whether that's 2D or stop motion or whatever it is. But I think if we made like a stop motion version of Warhammer, we'd probably get some people wondering what we were doing. So like we'll have to find the appropriate games for that.
I love how you found the middle ground within the time frame. Like you left me wanting more. Can you talk? There's different lengths to each episode. Can you talk more about kind of finding that sweet spot and knowing when to end a story?
Why don't you take that one, Miller?
I'll take that one. Well, we kind of had three rough categories, though the stories don't adhere to the exact length. But we had 5-minute, 10-minute, and 15-minute. And a lot of the decision on we reserved the 5-minute pieces for indie games and classic games. And then we opened the 10 and 15-minute categories to the big publishers for current blockbuster games or games coming out in the future, or in a few cases like Unreal Tournament, games that weren't out, but Epic really wanted to do a bigger piece. So part of it was really what's the appetite of the publisher in terms of the total length of the short, and what kind of story did they want to tell. But we knew what the length was before we wrote the story, so we didn't get into that uncomfortable position of writing a story for a 10-minute slot that really needed 20 minutes to tell it, or vice versa. Dave always gets in a little bit of that trouble because he's got a big appetite, so he tries to shove too much story.
Just me, yes.
Yeah, I never do that. It never happens to me. But yeah.
So also with the title, oh, no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
Oh, so with the title, Secret Level, to me it feels like an extension of the different games and the different universes that you created. But I was wondering, balancing that with making it a love letter. It also feels like this was a love letter to say thank you for creating this.
Let me take
yes,
that
very much so. I've been a gamer since I was 7 years old, and before I wanted to direct, I wanted to make games. Realized that was a real lot of work, and then sort of transitioned over. But yes, like nothing. I still have a letter from Tim Sweeney, who's the founder of Epic Mega Games at the time, on my wall from 30 years ago when I was a fledgling game designer. Because like I loved it, and so I really, this sort of series is the love child of all my vices in life: animation, filmmaking, and video games. And if anything, if even like a little bit, we sort of moved the gaming adaptation needle forward a little bit, I'll be happy, because there was my first entertainment love was video games.
But the title comes from that feeling that you get when you find a secret level in a game. And early on, some of the best games had you would, before the internet kind of spoiled the discovery process, you would go and find these things out, and you would dig for it and search for it, and talk to your friends, and eventually you found it. It felt like just such a huge reward for the dedication you put into playing this game for hours and hours. And so at its most basic level, we wanted the show to feel like a reward for the people that have invested so much of their life into playing these games and exploring these worlds and living with these characters. We know they mean a lot. We're so embedded, Dave and I, and kind of everybody at Blur and all the partners around the world, in this sort of nerd culture. We go to Comic-Con, we read comic books, we read genre material, we play games, we watch genre movies.
We used to go to Comic-Con before Hollywood went to Comic-Con. It was just artist alley.
Yes. So, we love this shit, and it's a reward that we can pay back to the community that we know loves this stuff like we do.
Can you both talk about the partnerships? Because it takes a lot. Oh, sorry.
I was say, I think we're at time, Dana. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to let you go, but we really appreciate your time. And if there's any follow-up or anything else you need, feel free to follow up and let us know.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Like your hat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. I think Renzo has your coffees. Let me message him.
Perfect. Yeah, we can give a quick beat.
I'll just crack my door and they can come in.
Just standing out there waiting. Oh, you have one of those cameras that tracks you. Oh, okay.
Hopefully not
Dave,
too far.
Dave, your coffee should be outside your door.
Oh,
All right.
cool. There he is.
I just prop my door open so they can come in.
No.
It's just the iPad. The iPad does it automatically.
Oh,
Come in.
gave us a cinematic tour of your hotel room, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Renzo just makes things appear. Love it.
Here, check me that. Yeah.
PCXP swag bag, nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo.
How could he have given you yours? Because he just gave me mine. How did that happen?
Magic.
Two places.
Mine was on my doorstep. So if you see me slip off camera and never come back.
Yeah, I asked them to left it out there for you, and then no knocking because I didn't know if you were like finished or not.
All good.
All right. I think while we get coffee set up, I'll let our next guest in, get recording set up. Let me stop.